Vampire Brothers Keeper, Chapter 12, Assurance. You have my assurance that nobody's going to bother you again, said Ludo as calmly as he could, and veins were slowly appearing on the side of his face. Well, with that matter resolved, we best return to work, said Valerio, leaving the tea room. And as soon as we left the tea room, we heard Alonso screeching, "Papa, no! Maricón de miedo, what's wrong with you?" hissed Ludo before we heard the sound of something breaking. And Valerio returned to the tea room, and he swiftly caught the vase that had been flung towards Alonso. And he placed it on the couch before saying, "I never said that it was your son, and it was dark, and it could have been anyone, really, and it could have been you for all I know. And there's no need to put on a show, and nobody here cares what your son does in the privacy of his bedroom." And the doctor pulled Ludo by the elbow, and what the two spoke about I do not know, except for Alonso, his father seemed to calm down. And we left the manor with Alonso trailing behind us, and he was afraid of being in the same room with his violent father, or so I fancy. "It wasn't necessary for you to interfere," said Alonso dryly. "You're welcome, by the way," I snapped. "When somebody does something nice for you, the correct answer is, thank you." "Ambrosio, not everyone is as lucky as you to have a mother that lets you do whatever you feel like," said Laura, interjecting. "Now that we know the truth, tell me what possessed you to solicit Valerio," asked Dr. Ciaran. "I wasn't soliciting," said Alonso, making up excuses. "I didn't believe anything he said." And then Alonso continued, "I simply wanted someone to pose for a painting that I am trying to do." "Then why do you visit him at such an ungodly hour?" asked Dr. Ciaran. "All right, you got me. I wanted Valerio to bite me," said Alonso. "But I wasn't able to work up the courage for such an indecent request, so I made up the story about the painting." "I guess as much," said Valerio, rolling his eyes. "For your information, nobody I have ever bitten has gotten superpowers. A few have even died, and very recently, I might add." I elbowed Valerio on the wrist before saying, "He's just joking, and speaking of jokes, did you replace the soap and the toothpaste in my house?" "I am not sneaky enough to pull a prank, sorry," said Alonso before staring at Ignacio and his little sister Laura with suspicion. "Are you the prankster, Valerio?" asked Dr. Ciaran. Valerio lowered his head before shaking him, and I noticed that his left hand was shaking. And laughing, I said, If it was your assassins, you would think that they would have done something a little more serious to get your attention, don't you think?" "Perhaps, but as long as I am here, you are in danger. It is best that I leave," said Valerio. "Oh no," said Ignacio with an over-exaggerated display of grief. I, on the other hand, was truly grieved. "Once it's blown over, will you return?" I asked, taking Valerio's hand. "We have only known each other for less than 2 months. It is best that I leave sooner than later," said Valerio sadly. "Where will you go?" I asked. "I don't know, wherever the ship takes me. Maybe I will go back to being a sailor. I will hop from port to port until the world forgets about me," said Valerio bitterly. Try as I might, I wasn't able to convince Valerio to stay, and the doctor too seemed grieved to see his favorite patient depart. 4 days passed after this incident, and all the while Valerio prepared for his departure, and he acquired a new name and a passport, and the night before he was to leave, I was beside myself with grief. Since Valerio wasn't coming to see me, I left in the middle of the night to go see him, and the night was especially creepy with the stormy clouds and the powerful wind, and in the darkness I saw something that looked like a wolf run past me. "Valerio, is that you?" I asked the furry animal that stopped to stare at me. "Valerio, you say?" spoke the wolf. "Ah, talking wolf, run!" And I went back to my home as quickly as my legs could take me, and I closed the door and I closed the window to my room for good measure, and just when I was about almost asleep, I heard a panting and a whimpering by the window, and I looked about for a weapon, anything. God, why did I speak to a wolf? Clearly it was a vampire. There are no wolves in Cuba. So yeah, if you see a wolf in Cuba, it's probably a vampire. "I have a question for you boys," said the creature outside my window. "Santiago, ayuda!" I yelled at the top of my lungs. "Santiago, help!" Santiago entered the room holding a rifle, and I pointed towards the window before saying, "There is a talking wolf outside my window. Do something about it." "Are you certain that it is not Valerio scaring you?" asked Santiago, cautiously opening the door. "Did you see his transformations?" I asked, coming out from beneath the bedsheets. "I see many things. It is my gift and my curse," said Santiago, narrowing his eyes. "Santi, I come in peace," said the voice. "You are outside of your territory. Return from whence you came," ordered Santiago, pointing the rifle at the wolf. "I came to warn you. Valerio is leaving without saying goodbye. We must stop him," said the wolf. "It could be a trap," mused Santiago, "and I better go verify the information with my eyes." "If you see him, please give him this letter," I said, writing a quick note, and the note read, "Please don't go, big brother." Just when Santiago was starting to depart, I sprung after him, and I didn't trust him to deliver my letter. And like my mother, he didn't approve of my friendship with Valerio. And we found Valerio walking to Espinal del Rio, and since it was nighttime, the poor blow was going in the wrong direction. The only ships that sailed out of Cuba docked in Havana. "Valerio," I yelled. "Ambrosio," said Valerio wearily. "You came to stop me, didn't you? But it is too late. I already made up my mind." "Is there no way to convince you to stay?" I asked. "No. The longer I stay, the more difficult it will be for both of us. This is for the best, and you can think of the last 2 months as nothing but a pleasant dream. And I will leave and everything will return to normal. You will go back to your blissful ignorance, and you, pup, will return to lurking in the shadows," said Valerio, looking at the wolf. "And after everything I have seen, it will be difficult for me to forget," I retorted, taking a step towards Valerio. "Difficult, but not impossible," said Valerio, taking a step back. I broke the distance to give him a hug, and I felt his body stiffen immediately, and he did not return my embrace. I released him before taking a step back. "Don't forget me, big brother," I said, and this was my final gambit to pull at his heartstrings. These lines were better than I had anticipated, and Valerio was overcome with a crying fit. And I took my crybaby of a brother back to my house, and he had his own room, but I slept better with another person in my bed. And back when I was small, I used to sleep every night with my maid, and it made me feel safe to hear her heart beating so close to mine. And when she left, there was nobody around to keep the darkness at bay. I wouldn't say that my mother was cold. She was just never the hard, kissy type of mother, and she did the best she could, all things considered. And it must be difficult to be the matriarch of a household. And tomorrow I'm going to help her out. I do not want her to feel that she's alone in this round, green earth. Poor little orphan Valerio. Tomorrow I'm going to see about having him work for us. And I know that Mom doesn't like him, but he's my friend. And one day I am going to be the man of the house, and it is about time that she starts respecting my wishes and desires. I will deal with everything tomorrow. The following morning came, and I woke to find myself alone, and I looked out the window, and I saw that it was noon. Maldición, that sneaky Santiago allowed me to oversleep, and thanks to him, I wasn't able to see Valerio off. And I went to the dining room to eat my meal, and Santiago sent me and my mother, and on his way out, I heard him say, on his way out, I said to him, "Estás despedido. You are fired, Santiago. Take your things and never return." My mother laughed at my outburst, and with a candid tone she asked, "Was the toast a little too burnt for your taste?" "I am serious, mother. I want him fired, and when he's gone, maybe then you will understand how I felt when you got rid of Baba," I hissed before slamming both my hands on the table. "Who is Baba?" asked my mother, confused. "You don't even remember her name," I yelled before flailing my hands in the air. Ah! After saying my piece, I ran out of the house, and I took the first carriage to Havana, and I paid the driver extra to make his horse trot a little faster. Alas, even with a few encouragement whips, the horse continued trotting at the same speed, and I had no choice but to resign myself to this fate. And just when I was nearing the city, I saw the doctor returning home on a different carriage, and I left my carriage before jumping into his. Tiaran shook his head sadly before saying, "He is gone." "How could you, doctor?" I said, shaking my fist in a display of infantile fury. He wanted to go, and if you love him, set him free, as the saying goes, said Ciaran before giving a forced smile. But he's your son, I insisted, and this time he laughed heartily before saying, Who told you that? Well, I overheard your wife gossiping with one of the nurses, so... I said before sitting down beside him. So that's what she thinks, good to know. And she only suspects of me cheating on her because el ladrón juzga por su condición, said Ciaran. Are you implying that Dorothy was unfaithful to you, I asked. I am not implying anything, but you get used to it. The alternative is dealing with el que dirán, or possible loss of reputation that could affect the latter. And she was probably trying to divert attention from herself by drawing attention to my non-insistent indiscretion, said Ciaran casually. And he added, But I forget myself, and let us never speak of Valerio ever again. Make me, I barked. I spent the rest of the carriage ride talking about Valerio to anyone that had ears to listen, and I continued like that for the entire day, and in all of my topics of conversation I would begin by saying, Did you know that big brother Valerio? And a week passed and Valerio did not return home, and the doctor tried to console me by telling me that he had not sent Valerio out into the world alone. Ernesto had gone with him, and as strong as Valerio was, he required human blood to fuel his powers. I don't trust him, I told the doctor, folding my arms. That guy has only interacted with Valerio twice, and why would he throw everything away for a blonde guy he doesn't know? Love at first sight is stupid that way, mused Dorothy, who was eavesdropping. I was your love at first sight, don't you remember, my dear wife, joked the doctor. I should have taken a better look then, said Dorothy before mopping the floor with more emphasis. One or advice, kiddo, the first emotion is usually the wrong one. Always take a step back to properly examine the many faults of your marriage prospect. If she looks like she's too good to be true, she probably is. You're better off marrying Laura. Since you grew up together, you already know what to expect from her. There won't be any surprises, advised the doctor. That is what I'm afraid of, I said, sighing wearily. For me, Laura was still like a sister. Yes, I love her, but I wasn't physically attracted to her, not even a little. And I went home in order to annoy my servants by talking about Valerio, and with my mother in Santiago, I was giving them the silent treatment. And they desperately wanted things to go back to normal, but I was too stubborn to forget about my friend. Alright, that's good. Bye-bye. God bless.